while we start talking about the Internet of Medical Things, as I mentioned, it is a complete ecosystem that we are looking at. Well, the ecosystem starts off with a very simple device, which could be probably like a CGM or a continuous glucose monitoring, which could be the initial starting phase. Like, again, there are devices which could be invasive, non-invasive devices that you're looking at. And then when you look at probably an invasive or a non-invasive device, to get started, you're looking at a continuous glucose monitoring. Today, what's happening is that if you look at the Stanford studies, type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, a diabetic patient, he takes at least 100 decisions per day on diabetes. And still is he able to manage his insulin? Apparently no. He isn't able to manage it. He is under this depression and trauma of how does he go through this entire phase of managing his diabetes and his insulin level. At that moment, if he is able to have a continuous glucose monitoring system, which is a simple device, it comes with a sensor, and the sensor is attached to the body of the patient. And every 3 minutes, it is able to send what are the current readings. Again, it gets calibrated at a point of time. It is able to send the data across to a mobile application. It is also able to send the data to any other caregivers. Let's assume there's a scenario of a hypoglycemia occurring for the patient. At that very given point of time, people are notified. It also notifies probably the hospitals. It also notifies the ambulance. So then what happens? The doctors are ready, and the patient has a chance of having his life getting saved. Today, in tech, we talk about a lot of key metrics or KPIs. But one of the most important KPIs that we should look at and which never get negotiated is the number of lives saved. And today, as we move towards this KPI of number of lives saved, today at Eris Life Sciences, the organization that I represent, we have built a CGM called the Circa CGM. We are also looking at phase 2, where the CGM could also be connected probably to an insulin pump, which means that the moment there's going to be a spike in your insulin, the pump will know how much of dosage to be released across over there, which becomes very important in taking the right decision at the right point of time. But then how did we achieve this, or how do we want to go ahead with this? We looked at a framework, again, which was built on AWS for us. And while we look at it, the CGM device, it connects to the mobile application through BLE, which is, again, the Bluetooth connectivity. And from there, what we have done is that there is an Amazon gateway. Now, the API gateway is where we have built the complete logic for us, and the data transcends over here. And from there, and much prior, what also we have done is we have given Cognito. It is important to ensure that we are also looking at data privacy of the patients. When you look at data privacy, this becomes a starting point in terms of how do we look at ensuring the user login or the patient login through mobile or emails is taken over there. Moving further, we are looking at this could be an entire industry to scale. And when we look at the cargo at which the CGM industry is growing, it is pretty huge. And so we wanted to build an application where we are able to scale up on demand. And that is where we had Lambda in terms of ensuring that we have the compute being provided on need basis. And obviously, in terms of database, we had chosen DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL DB, for us to move ahead. And that is where I believe that as CIOs, we not only perform the role of a Chief Information Officer, we also become a CIBO, or a Chief Information Business Officer, where we are also able to move forward and support the business transitions happening over here. Very important, while we were talking about this data, we are talking about PI and SPI. So the personally identifiable and sensitive personally identifiable information. When you look at these two different categories of data, it is very important to secure the patient data. These are statistics that we are looking at from US, which means that in India, if these are the stats for US, in India, we still don't know, which is still concerning. 466 incidents, and if you look at these incidents that have occurred, the major type of incidents, always starts, if you look at the threat actors, like where it starts from inside your organization. So it is very important that you plug the holes inside your organization in terms of training people, making them understand how do you protect data, how do you ensure that like we have various different, what are the best practices to take care of your security over here. What you could do, data minimization. Now, when you look at data minimization, there's huge volumes of data being collated. Now, just collect the data that you need and you need to present. That's about it. Also, your third party that you're working with, have you done an audit of them even before signing your contracts? That becomes of crux, and you ensure that you do it. Also, VAPT of your sensitive apps at regular timely basis also helps to ensure that you're having a application that is always protected. You could also look at OWASP's top 10 if needed. But then these are ways that you ensure that your application is able to correspond to the latest threats that are occurring on a day-to-day basis. Also very important that when we look at the anti-counterfeiting market, especially in the pharmaceutical space, well, it applies to a lot of industries, not just pharma. It could apply to FMCG or CPG. It could apply to luxury goods. It could apply to wine, retail, any of these sectors. What's been happening is the supply chain gets infiltrated. And when such infiltration happens, what could be the possible solution that you could look at? There are various track and trace solutions. There are holograms available. But are they foolproof? Are these QR codes non-reproducible? No. That's where probably you could look at probably blockchain coming into picture. And this screen over here just showcases what is the growth of the anti-counterfeiting market that is happening in today's world. Well, there are a lot of reasons why people and organizations don't consider or look at checking whether the product is an original product or a fake product. The primary reasons for organizations is that it is too complex in nature. Also, it is not able to integrate with your traditional ERP systems or with your track and trace systems that you have out over there. So how could you could look at a differentiated way? And also the cost is very expensive. One of those major challenges that come from blockchain is that when you look at either a private or a public blockchain, a lot of solution providers come out with private blockchain. But is that the answer? No. Because it still is being controlled by a particular group. Rather, when you look at a public blockchain, the disadvantages are that in terms of the speed and the cost. But then there are ways to look at alternates, like you could look at Polygon, which could offer you, or Binance, or look at another solution through Alchemy. These are ways that you could probably try to eradicate the problems that you're facing in the current anti-counterfeiting that you might have, and also integrate the same with your current ERP systems, SAP or anything else. Also very important, while you're looking at a blockchain solution, you also look at, could you integrate it with an IoT? Why is that required, especially if you have goods that are probably sensitive in temperature? It could be like your vaccines, or it could also be in terms of dairy that you're probably moving around. So when you look at ensuring that the lineage is being maintained, the blockchain solution ensures that you're able to look at right from the start of where the manufacturing source is there, what raw materials have been used to the point of delivery, and also ensuring that the consumer, when he is able to look at the particular product, all that he needs to do is a simple scan. A lot of applications today come with a mobile app, which is not required. You could redirect them to your organization website, through which you will be able to, again, ensure that you're bringing brand recall to your site, and also making people use your website to probably just scan the particular QR code and ensure that they're getting the complete lineage and they're having the product getting authenticated. Well, thank you, my friends, and that's about it. I think I've done it on time. Thank you.
Dr. Mukund, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's have a round of applause once again for Dr. Mukund K.S. Thank you very much, sir.
Sorry.